Have you ever booked a cozy Airbnb, imagining a peaceful getaway, only to wonder if the walls themselves are hiding secrets that could turn your dream vacation into a living nightmare? Let me take you back to the summer of 2018, when a young couple from Seattle decided to escape the city's relentless rain for a weekend in the misty forests of Oregon. Emily had always been the adventurous type, scrolling through listings late at night, drawn to those hidden gems off the beaten path. They found Whispering Pines Cabin, a rustic A-frame nestled deep in the woods, promising seclusion and starlit skies. The host, an elderly woman named Clara, had glowing reviews, 5 stars across the board, with guests raving about the homemade pies left on the doorstep. But as Emily recounted, the moment they turned onto the gravel road leading to the property, a subtle unease settled in, like the first drop of rain before a storm. The cabin appeared idyllic at first glance, weathered logs stacked neatly, a wraparound porch with swinging chairs creaking gently in the breeze, and the faint scent of pine sap mingling with earth. Mark parked their SUV, and they unloaded their bags, laughing about how they'd finally unplug from the world no-cell service, just as advertised. Inside, the space was charmingly dated, with faded floral curtains and a stone fireplace stacked with logs. Clara had left a note, "Welcome, dears. Help yourselves to the pantry. Sweet dreams." Emily smiled at the quaintness, but as she explored, she noticed odd details, a faint outline on the wall where a picture had been removed, leaving a rectangle of unfaded paint and a locked door in the hallway marked "Private Storage." Mark shrugged it off, eager to start a fire and open a bottle of wine. That first evening passed uneventfully, with the couple cooking pasta on the old stove and sharing stories under the dim glow of lantern light. But as night fell, the forest outside seemed to press in closer, the trees whispering secrets in the wind. Emily woke around 2 a.m. to a soft scratching sound, like nails dragging across wood. At first, she thought it was Mark shifting in bed, but he was sound asleep beside her. The noise persisted, rhythmic and deliberate, coming from the hallway. Heart pounding, she slipped out of bed, her bare feet cold on the creaky floorboards. The scratching grew louder as she approached the locked door, stopping abruptly when she pressed her ear against it. "Hello," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Silence. Shaking it off as wildlife or settling wood, she returned to bed, but sleep evaded her. The next morning, over coffee, she mentioned it to Mark, who laughed and suggested it was a raccoon in the walls. They spent the day hiking nearby trails, returning exhausted but exhilarated. That night, the scratching returned, this time accompanied by a low murmur, like muffled voices arguing behind the door. Curiosity gnawed at Emily. While Mark napped, she searched the cabin for a key, rifling through drawers filled with yellowed receipts and dusty knickknacks. In the back of a kitchen cabinet, she found an old brass key tucked behind a jar of flour. Her hands trembled as she inserted it into the lock, the door creaking open to reveal a narrow staircase descending into darkness. A musty smell wafted up, like damp earth and something metallic. Flicking on her phone's flashlight, she descended step by step, the air growing colder. At the bottom was a small basement room, cluttered with boxes and old furniture. In the center sat a wooden crib, its bars splintered, and beside it, a rocking chair that swayed ever so slightly, as if recently occupied. Emily's beam caught faded photographs, pinned to the wall black, and white images of a young woman holding a baby, her eyes hollow and haunted. One photo showed the same woman, older now, standing outside the cabin Clara. A chill ran down her spine. As she turned to leave, her foot kicked something soft, a tattered baby blanket, stained with what looked like rust-colored spots. Panic rising, she bolted up the stairs, locking the door behind her. When Mark woke, she told him everything, but he dismissed it as old family memorabilia, suggesting Clara had lost a child and kept the room as a shrine. Uneasy but rationalizing, they decided to stay one more night. That evening, as they sat by the fire, a knock echoed from the front door. Mark opened it to find Clara standing there, her face pale under the porch light, holding a pie. "I thought you might enjoy this," she said, her voice quivering. Emily noticed her eyes darting to the hallway door, and a wave of dread washed over her. Clara lingered, chatting about the cabin's history, mentioning how her daughter had loved the woods before. The accident. As she left, Emily whispered to Mark, "We need to go. Now." But the scratching started earlier that night, more insistent, now with faint cries, like a baby's wail echoing from below. Mark heard it too this time, his face draining of color. They barricaded the door with a chair, huddling in bed, phones useless without signal. Hours ticked by in tense silence until dawn broke. As they packed to leave, Emily glanced back and saw the locked door ajar, the key still in her pocket. Inside the basement, the crib was empty, but the rocking chair creaked back and forth. They fled, tires spinning on gravel, never looking back. Weeks later, Emily researched the property online, discovering a decades-old news article. Clara's daughter had died in that cabin, suffocated in her sleep, and Clara had been suspected of foul play, but never charged. The twist that haunts Emily to this day. In the article's photo, the daughter's eyes matched those in the basement pictures, but the baby in her arms was swaddled in the same stained blanket. Emily had kicked. Clara hadn't lost a child, she'd hidden one away, and perhaps, just perhaps, the cries were a lure for something far more sinister, lurking in those whispering pines. Shifting gears to a different kind of terror, let's delve into the chilling ordeal of a solo traveler named Alex, who in early 2020 sought refuge in a high-rise apartment in downtown Chicago during the height of the pandemic lockdowns. Alex, a freelance photographer from New York, needed a change of scenery after months cooped up in his tiny studio. He booked Skyline Sanctuary, a sleek one-bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering cityscape. The host, a man named Victor, communicated via curt messages, emphasizing privacy and no-contact check-in. Alex arrived late at night, the building's lobby eerily empty, the doorman nodding silently as he scanned his key fob. The elevator hummed upward to the 27th floor, depositing him in a dimly lit hallway lined with identical doors. The apartment was modern and minimalist, white walls, chrome fixtures, and a king-sized bed facing the vast windows. Alex unpacked, snapping a few photos of the view, the lights of the city twinkling like distant stars. He noticed a small camera in the corner of the living room, but the listing had disclosed it as a security measure for the entryway only. Exhausted, he crashed early, the city's hum lulling him to sleep. But around midnight, he jolted awake to a faint click, like a door latch engaging. Sitting up, he scanned the room, nothing amiss. Shrugging it off as building noise, he drifted back to sleep. The next day, he explored the neighborhood, masked and distant, returning with takeout. As he ate, he felt watch, the hairs on his neck prickling. Glancing at the camera, its red light blinked steadily. That night, the clicks returned, multiple now, interspersed with soft footsteps padding across the floor. Alex grabbed his phone, flashlight on, and crept into the living room. Empty. But as he turned, he caught a shadow flitting across the window reflection, not his own. Heart racing, he checked the door locked, windows sealed. He messaged Victor, who replied instantly, building settling, all secure. One easy, Alex set up his own camera trap, propping his tripod to record the room overnight. Morning came without incident, but reviewing the footage, he saw nothing unusual until 3:17 a.m., when a faint outline appeared in the corner, humanoid but distorted, vanishing as quickly as it came. Paranoia set in. Alex searched the apartment, finding a loose panel behind the TV. Prying it open revealed a crawl space, dusty and narrow, leading to what seemed like adjacent units. Inside, he found wrappers from his own snacks ones he discarded that day. Someone had been accessing the apartment. He confronted Victor via message, demanding an explanation. Victor called immediately, his voice calm, maintenance access. Nothing to worry about. But Alex wasn't convinced. That evening, he barricaded the panel with furniture and stayed awake, knife in hand. The clicks started at 1 a.m., louder, from the walls. Then, a whisper through the vents. "Leave now." Terrified, Alex fled to a hotel, reporting to Airbnb and police. The investigation revealed the twist. Victor wasn't the host, he was a squatter who'd hacked the listing. The real owner had been missing for months, his body later found in the building's basement, hidden in a maintenance room. Security camera was live streaming to Victor's device, and the crawl space connected to his hideout in the adjacent unit. Alex had been sharing the apartment with a killer, who used the whispers to drive guests out before they discovered his secret lair. To this day, Alex avoids high rises. The city lights no longer a comfort, but a reminder of eyes watching from the shadows. Now for the most unsettling tale yet, one that unfolds in the sun-drenched hills of Tuscany, Italy, where a family of 4 from London sought an idyllic villa rental in the summer of 2022. This is the harrowing experience of the Thompson family parents, Lisa and David, and their 2 children, Sophie 12 and Ben 8, as relayed through Lisa's detailed journal entries and follow-up conversations. They'd chosen Villa Serenita, a sprawling stone estate with olive groves and a private pool, advertised as a slice of paradise. The host, an Italian gentleman named Matteo, welcomed them via video call, his smile warm, promising fresh produce from the garden. Upon arrival, after a long flight, the family was enchanted terracotta tiles, vine-covered arches, and the scent of lavender wafting through open windows. The first few days were blissful swimming, exploring nearby villages, and family dinners under the stars. But on the 3rd night, Ben woke screaming about the lady in the mirror. Lisa rushed to his room, finding him pointing at an antique, full-length mirror in the corner, its glass foggy as if breathed upon. She chalked it up to a nightmare, tucking him back in. The next morning, Sophie mentioned seeing a woman in white wandering the groves at dusk, but David laughed it off as imagination fueled by too much gelato. Lisa, however, felt a growing disquiet. Objects seemed to move on their own. A vase shifted from table to shelf, keys vanishing and reappearing. As the week progressed, the incidents escalated. One afternoon, while the kids napped, Lisa heard singing a melancholic Italian lullaby echoing from the attic. Climbing the steep stairs, she found the door unlocked, the space filled with dusty trunks and faded portraits. One painting depicted a woman in white, her eyes piercing, labeled Contessa Elena, 1856. The singing stopped as Lisa entered, but a cold draft brushed her skin. Researching on her phone, she learned the villa's history. Contessa Elena had been betrayed by her lover, poisoning herself and cursing the estate. Locals avoided it, claiming her spirit sought companionship. That night, the family gathered for a movie, but the power flickered, plunging them into darkness. Candles lit. They heard footsteps overhead, heavy and deliberate. David investigated the attic, returning pale. "There's nothing," but I felt hands on my shoulders. The children clung to Lisa, whispering about the lady. Desperate, Lisa messaged Matteo, who replied cryptically, "She means no harm. Just lonely." The final night, as a storm raged, Ben disappeared. Panic ensued. They searched the house, calling his name. Sophie screamed from her room. The mirror showed Ben standing in a foggy void, the woman in white holding his hand. They smashed the mirror, shards flying, and found Ben curled in the attic, unharmed but muttering about, playing with Elena. The twist that shattered their reality. Upon leaving, Lisa discovered Matteo wasn't the owner. He was a descendant of Elena's lover, using the villa to appease the spirit by luring families, hoping to break the curse. Ben's playtime had been a possession attempt, and in old records, children matching his description had vanished over centuries. The Thompsons fled, but Ben still hums that lullaby, his eyes sometimes glazing over as if listening to whispers from beyond. These accounts, drawn from the shadows of ordinary escapes, remind us that behind every welcoming door, darkness may wait. The forests, the skyscrapers, the sunlit villas, all harbors for the unseen. Sleep tight, knowing your next booking might hold more than just a key.